Hello. All right. We are here from Nurses for Nurses. My name is Jen Crow. I've got Emily Knife over here, and we are coming on today for a mini marketing workshop called What Problem Are You Solving? The point of this is to help you identify your customer and help you identify what problems that you are solving for them so that you can make more sales. So let's get into it.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
So our first point here, what problem are you solving? If you're not solving a clear problem, you're just selling noise and you're not going to make the sale. It's very important to identify an exact pinch point for people and figure out a way to solve that problem. That is what is going to make sales. And I'll turn it over to Emily here.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Jen. So, so much of the time, this is the problem that nurses are having. It's finding the solution to a problem, and it's just one. We don't have to find multiple solutions. This is not a care plan situation. So, it's not about what you offer, it's about what pain you're relieving, right? So, the question leads to clarity in many different ways, but you want to focus on 4 points of contact with your actual customers, right? Because you're selling a product. So these are the points that you want to focus on. One is going to be the marketing messages. So you want to make sure your marketing messages are clear and also intact with the problem that you're solving. The next one would be offer creation. So sometimes what I've heard from nurses is they put an offer out there and then it's crickets. And so we have to make sure our offer creation is also enhanced by our marketing messages. So you can kind of see how each of these are going to be piggying back off of each other. And you can absolutely use the same messaging all throughout. We want to be congruent and consistent with our messaging. The audience targeting, right? If I'm talking about menopause and I'm a menopause coach, I obviously don't want to be talking to men about this. They don't care. They don't want to hear about it, right? I want to be talking to women that are probably like 37 and upward, right? So you want to niche down your audience of who you're talking about or who you're talking to. Maybe you're a burnout coach for nurses. Who's going to be your audience? Obviously, nurses, right? So make sure you're really consistent with the audience that you're trying to get your message out to. And last but not least, that goes with all of these are brand positioning. So, how are you getting your brand out there? Are you on social media? Are you doing Facebook or even TikTok ads, or even tapping into the Google aspect of marketing and doing ads through them as well? So, how are you positioning your brand? And does this stay congruent and consistent with your audience targeting, with your offer creation, and then with your marketing messages? If those are all intact, you should be making a sale. And so let's go ahead and go to the next slide here because we're going to talk about common mistakes. And I'll let you take this one over, Jen.
Thank you. So some common mistakes that we see a lot of the times are assuming everyone is your audience, assuming that when you put a message out on your social media that it's for everyone. It's not. It's for specific people. Who are you selling to? So there's ways that you can hone in on that with your like SEO back end to be able to like target people that you are actually trying to sell to. Solving a problem that doesn't feel urgent. People when you sell something, a lot of the times it's because there's urgency behind it. So only a few tickets left. I've got 3 books left. Who wants them? So make an urgency behind it, or make an urgency to the problem. Are you burned out and tired and cannot go on anymore? Get help now. We can help you now. Then the next point is creating a product before identifying a real pain point. And so, and we see this a lot in nurses where we put out beautiful messaging. If you look at a lot of our websites, the messaging is so beautiful because we want to be helpful and we want to do stuff that's good for nursing, good for the healthcare industry, and for the greater good. But we're not like really identifying like what the actual problem is that we're solving. Yes, we all want like changes at like like global healthcare overall. Yes, we want people to feel good, but what does that actually look like? Are you helping somebody work through their depression? Are you helping them refocus their career path? What are you, you need to identify the actual problem before trying to solve it and before putting your content out there. That way your messaging can be very specific. And then speaking, and I kind of touched on the speaking in features, not outcomes, showing, yes, we'll show like everything that we do, but what are the outcomes of it? What can people expect? And so, for instance, weekly coaching calls versus less burnout in 30 days. Weekly coaching calls is the feature, but people are going to buy the outcome. They want less burnout in 30 days. So those are just some of the common mistakes people make when you're designing your websites, when you're putting out your content. And so we'll kind of move on here to the next slide, and that's going to help with identifying the actual problems. And I'll turn it back over to Emily.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So when we're looking at actually identifying the problems, we're going to look at some of these questions. So you want to ask yourself, who is struggling right now and looking for a solution? Well, really everybody is, and that's where it can get very overwhelming. So if you come to this question and you're like, everybody, then I want you to kind of come back onto your skill set. And there's some more questions that we can ask to help you really kind of narrow in on this. The next one would be, what keeps your ideal client up at night, right? And so you can even kind of turn to yourself and be like, what keeps me up at night? But that might not be what keeps your customer up at night, right? So we don't want to always focus on what we need. We're trying to focus on what somebody else needs. And so we see that many times with nurses is like, but this is what I need. I'm burned out. This is what I need. It's like, no. We got to turn it back over and look at what the population or your niche audience needs. So what are they trying or failing to fix on their own? Because you're going to provide the solution, obviously, for their problem. What's costing them time, money, or energy, right? This is why like cleaning businesses are so huge, because they're saving people time, money, and energy by providing a service. They're providing one service. That's it. They're cleaning houses. It's one service, right? My problem is I don't have enough time to clean. Here's a cleaning person. Okay, so this is where you want to start thinking. What language do they use when venting about this? So what are your people saying? What is your audience saying when they're venting about their said problem that you have the solution for, right? So you're going to look in to really putting out your message through emails, through comments. And you can also see how people are responding to that problem by looking at emails and comments and getting into some of these messaging threads and really seeing what people are venting about. And that's going to be able to help you solve the problem that they're dealing with. So let's go ahead and look at some examples of how we can go about this.
So examples of how to promote your work. You're not solving, so nurse burnout coaching, you're not solving nurses want to meditate. You're solving for, I'm emotionally exhausted and want to feel human again. And then another, if kind of tailing it to like more of a retail product, you're not, for us, like a nurse owned scrub brand, you're not selling clothes. You're solving, I want to feel confident, comfortable, and proud walking into the shift. And so those are the problems that you're actually solving, not the features of what you offer. And so just some like food for thought on this point here and a little bit of a practice. So going back to identifying your customer, and then take a moment to like write down what is the exact problem you're solving for that customer. This is a really good strategy to use when you're, maybe you're going to get on a call with somebody and you need to make that sale. Doing this work ahead of time will help you navigate that conversation. So know your customer, write down exactly the problem that you're going to solve for them, and then practice saying it in one sentence. I help burned out nurses feel better in 30 days. Like as simple as that. Let me go through here, like just some like closing thoughts here. Going forward, who do you help and what problem do you solve? So ask yourself every time you're talking to one of your clients, who are you helping and what problem are you solving for them? And then ask yourself, as you look at your content out there in the world, if someone were to scroll past your post, would they know exactly what pain you're relieving? Like, do they know exactly what you offer? So just closing thoughts for you guys as you get into the entrepreneurial world and get into the pain of marketing. It's all encompassing, and this is just a short little video to hopefully help relieve your pain points as you put your content out there.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. That was so amazing. Love that.
Well, thank you guys all so much for watching. Will be up on our YouTube, Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, and it's just a free mini workshop. It's just some little points to help you as you go forward. So thank you guys for watching.
Yes, bye.
Bye.